Back once again. It is I who was truly the maniac, man. Had to use time that I have to my advantage. Quite glad that I still walk this journey. Wonderful people that I'm actually meeting. This opportunity that I do get is one that I don't take for granted. The amazing people that I've met as we head towards the last quarter of Jordan here. You make plans when the year starts and then things actually don't pan out the way you think they should. We are reaching the end of Jordan here. Like I said, you make the plans and then the plans actually don't work out the way you actually want them. Man, I've met this guy who's had a very good impression on me. And as I walk my journey through the concrete jungle, like I said, it's about embracement and like attracts like, man. And Ross, I don't want to lie. The first time I actually saw you speak, I was like, bro, you reminded me of myself. And I felt like it's so important for us when we walk this journey to align ourselves with people with the same struggle. You saw no color barrier. It's like a lot of things that separate people. You didn't use them as an impediment or actually put it in your pathway. I love the fact that you were also honest about the example I had made about life being just a series of us climbing mountains.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things is just being a good climber, which means that making the best of the situation you find yourself in. You also shared about how you also had educational difficulties and you had to also work on your mindset as well to be like, I'm not going to use this to be an impediment for me to actually get what I want. Yeah. You shared a bit about your brothers who didn't finish school. And you were like, at the end of the day, whatever has been dished to you, what matters is what did you make out of it? How do you develop this kind of mindset, bro?
Like I said, my brothers, for example, you see the path that they have taken in their lives and you see the difficulties they are facing at the moment. And you're like, yes, you too have a disability where learning is difficult for you, but there are ways getting around that. Yeah, it comes down to, like you said, what you make of it. I mean, I wasn't at the best school with the best opportunities like some of my friends have.
I remember you going deep into that because the moment you told me that, I was like, don't let what a person tells you about yourself become your reality.
Yeah, it was basically just knowing what you are capable of and obviously trying your best to overcome your situation. I saw a video and Sean played it yesterday.
Motivational Monday.
Yeah, on a Motivational Monday.
I got goosebumps when I was watching that Steve Harvey one, eh?
Yeah. I come into the video that he played. I watched it when I was going through a difficult time with my previous job. Where people were saying, you've been here for so long and you're not growing and you're not doing this. And I always used to complain, there's no growth, there's no this, there's no that. But you need to be the one that determines your growth. You can't wait for other people to do that. And then in that video, I saw this guy was speaking about why is the lion king of the jungle. He's not the fastest, because that's the cheetah.
He's not the biggest.
He's not the biggest, because that's the elephant. And he's not the smartest either. But what makes him different from all of them is his mentality. If your mentality is good, if you have a good mentality and a good mindset, you can overcome anything. I personally believe in that, because sometimes talent and all these skills that you have isn't enough, because you're going to get somebody that has the exact same skills,
but they work harder than you.
Like we explained yesterday with my cricket.
Yeah.
So for the viewers or the people that's listening, I played cricket for South Africa as a junior growing up. I went to a lot of different countries and I was earmarked to play for the national team, the senior national team.
That's huge. I remember you just about the cricket story about how you just didn't understand how big of a deal it was to other people. I'm like, I'm selected to play for the national setup.
Yeah.
And most people where we come from actually don't even understand cricket.
Yeah. So, like we explained yesterday, obviously I didn't make it because of decisions I made in the past. A lot of my friends that I played with are now there. But that is because of the effort and the work and the mindset.
It's a combination of all those things.
Yeah. Because of that, they are where they are today. For a long time, I was like,
you're jealous of them,
I'm jealous. But you can't get jealous because they actually put in the work. And that actually motivates me now every single day, because it's like, don't let your circumstances and the decisions you make affect your future, affect your outcome. So I try to live my life like that now. Try and do better every day in everything that I do. My mindset is always to be number one. And if you believe you're the best, you are going to become the best.
That's what I got from you. You have that boss mentality, man. I remember you telling me about the story about you asking your superiors at sports scenes when you were there, like, where do you see yourself in the next few years?
5 years, yeah.
5 years. When they were like, nah, I'm manager and all those things. They were like, guys, I see myself owning the company that you actually work for.
Think big, man. Think big. If you look at the McDonald's story, even, like that guy thought big. He was like, we have something amazing here, but we can go bigger. We can do so much.
I feel like it's like that with every Americans. The Americans actually teach their kids to build for the world.
Yeah.
Hence why the Facebooks and all these companies. But yeah, with the McDonald's story,
it's basically the same, like trying to have the same mindset. So if you're going to work for any company, why do you need to be working at the lowest level for so many years just to live a decent life? Why not take over? Take over. Just become the boss. Be that guy.
I also had watched the movie about the guy who actually came up with chili Cheetos. He was actually just a menial worker, but he was Mexican. And he had this thing of them taking scraps.
Yeah.
And actually turning those scraps into the Cheetos that they are, the hot Cheetos that you see everyone going crazy over. And I remember how he used the element of his culture, man. They like hot food, the peri-peris and all that. Look at nachos in America and how they become like a signature food, but it's associated with Mexican, because he was like, I live in America, but I can be able to take my culture with me. So there's this scene where his whole family is involved. He sends them to go and get all these kind of hot peppers and so on. And the family becomes the people that actually are the tasters of this. But he's just a cleaner at the factory.
Yeah.
You see, and he sees his opportunity. He was always trying to approach, the superiors, because he can see that the company is going through difficulty. They're laying off people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy, even in difficult times, he thought, man, something can actually come out of this. And today we have hot Cheetos.
Yeah. And it's been making money.
Bro.
That guy's probably a billionaire today.
Of course he is. He has, I think, about 40% shares in that company that actually made the cheese Cheetos. So the chili ones is the one that he made. So you kind of can turn your situation to your advantage, because it's that victim or victim mindset. I also was in that position to say, I failed grade 10. My shoes were broken. My trousers were broken. All I'm surrounded by is my aunt, my mom, and they're just drinking their life away. And I'm like, Thando, you're not going to get inspiration from such people. Yeah. Then I remembered, every time I came home, my grandfather is this thing, bring me the newspaper.
Yeah.
Tell me what's on the news and all of that. And years later on, after he passed on, I actually see that this man was the one who was actually feeding my ambition. He calls me Mastankonyana. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
He would sit around with his friends at the table. They would be drinking. He will always give me the floor. Time to tell me what's the current political situation. What do you think about the ANC and so on? He's like, this guy kept on feeding. It came to a point where I cannot just see a person for what they are going through now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see the human side of them. What actually led them up to this situation? Because he was a teacher of 30 years. But you once sat with me 2-3 weeks into the year. I was like, yo, who do I take to school now? I know I failed. But then I know my mother won't go, because the last time she was there, orientation day in grade 8. Here am I, 3 years later, failing grade 10. Now he sits there and he asked me, you see what's going on around this situation, Mos. You see everyone is drinking their life away. You see I'm also drinking. But then he was already long time retired that time. But he's like, at the end of the day, it's you who needs to decide, are you going to school for yourself or for you to actually please your parents? And I was like, nah, man, this guy actually has a point. I think he activated the solution in me at that time. So I immediately begged my aunt, you are taking me to that school. You are taking me to that school. I failed. You are going to make sure that I get a train ticket, a monthly train ticket. Because in my mind, I already had this thing that at least Mr. Nieuwelt, who was grade head at that time, knows what type of student I am.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't go deeper in the home situation and so on and what it actually led to that, because I also contributed by going with the wrong friends. I was bunking and doing all those things, and everything was happening at a phase where the people I was with weren't sparking the person that I was at that time.
Like it is for a lot of teenagers, like a lot of people growing up. I come from a similar situation where I fell into the wrong crowd. It's up to you to say, I'm going to continue with this, or I'm going to stop and be like, that's not working for me. Iron sharpens iron at the end of the day. So surround yourself with iron and not wood. Because you don't want people that's going to be around you that's going to dull you. And I had to do the same thing that you had to do.
It was very tough, bro.
It's hard because a part of me felt like what I'm doing is not right. You know, the way you speak to people, the things you were doing. Like, I used to go party a lot. I used to drink a lot. I used to do certain drugs.
Whoa, bro.
I won't go into depth of it, but it got to a point where it was very bad, where you would start stealing from people, stealing from parents. And, you know, I'm one of 5 kids. So, like I said, my 2 older brothers went down the wrong path. They were the examples for me of like how to get out of that. But I feel like all teenagers, all young adults go through that sometime in their life. But it's all about how you look at your situation and how you are willing to get out of it.
Exactly, man. I kind of didn't also want to be an impediment, because I felt like, yes, things are worse at home, but it's like you're making things even more worse. I said this to Zoe, the worst thing you can do when you're in a bad situation is to make it worse. That is what I also saw, that now you need to stop playing against yourself. Because I was so afraid of what people would think of me. And also, every action has a consequence, man.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting alone now, that year that I failed, now I start to remember all these people that used to stop me before I used to bunk. It felt good, man. I actually enjoyed the fact that while I was doing all these things, I had girls, I had guys, Tando, this is not you. I'm like, yeah, at least someone cares about me. But at the back of my mind, I'm like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Anyway, because in my mind, I'm like, am I the only one these people actually see? I'm like, people saw a lot of things in me that I didn't see. And they were like, your company. The moment they bring that up, I'm like, no, man. It's my guys, man. They will never put me down the wrong path and all of that. You're still in denial almost, because you're like, you're the cool dude. I had all the girls going. I wanted so bad to be this bad guy. But in doing that, I'm actually
messing up
my own life, because they have lives to actually get back to.
And then you realize there's bigger things than what you are doing at the moment. There's so many bigger things. The small thing for me was the image that I'm portraying of my family, because I believe in the saying where they say, you betray what your parents, you betray your parents, the correct words. You're the image of your parents. So whatever you do
reflects on them,
yeah. So that for me was a big part of why I had to change. It was like, I know the qualities my father had, and because of the way I was, people saw him differently. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, your son is underage, drinking, throwing up everywhere, going out to parties and stuff. What type of father are you? And that for me was bad, because I knew who my father was. I mean, he's my role model today. The biggest lesson he's ever taught me actually was never go out looking for handouts. If you want something, work for it. That was one of the switches that I needed, like to realize that this is not just affecting you and the people, but it's affecting your parents, which is so important because, I mean, these are the people that are breaking their backs for you.
To make sure that you're good. Eh?
Yeah.
To make sure that you're good. I also had that reputation of my mother. I understood that at least people that I met with, especially people who saw her during her high school years and all that, they were telling me how brilliant your mother was. Yes, the father was not in the picture because I was like crying for majority of the time. He left at 10. You see, they dropped me off in Alice as if I'm going for a holiday. Next thing is giving guap to my grandmother. Next thing for the entire year, I sit there and I'm in school now and I'm in the rural areas and I'm a city boy. Next thing, I come every holiday, but as I come every holiday, I can see the detachment, man.
Yeah.
It first started with us moving back to my mom's house. Next thing, I see my father is all alone. Then the December I come, the car that my mom bought is crashed. It's sitting next door. The first thing I ask, where is my pops? My mama is drunk, so don't come and ask me that. So you live with that anger and that resentment, like, what happened? But I actually give kudos to my mom because she was like, you're the eldest. I can't have you seeing all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's rather that I protect you and keep you away from all of these things because I remember many nights my father being very abusive towards my mother, physically,
and that's
emotionally.
so difficult to go.
And then he would also gaslight her to say, you see why I'm beating you is because you're doing A, B, and C. And to be honest, my father was a serial cheatist. My father, wherever we actually moved, he would have a girlfriend just opposite the house. He gets found out, he beats my mom. It came to a point where he stabbed someone from that neighborhood and there was like mob justice, bro.
It's crazy.
My mother's uncle, who we lived under his yard, ended up taking a full brutal beating, near-death experience, to a point where we had to be chased out. I was 9 at that time. I'm like, bro, for all these years, I thought my mother was lying about how abusive my father was because I was like, okay, this guy is present, he's here, but I could see him with me. I remember, I think I was 5 or 6 at that time, where I spent time with my friends in our flat. We used to still live in the house that he grew up with, his father's house. And as I came from the gate with my friend, my father is busy searching my pockets. What did you take? What did you take? I'm like, that memory still lives with me.
Yeah.
Even till this day, I'm like, yo, bruh. Like glimpse of moments. But you also, I just don't stray on the negative side as well. Because one thing that I love that he instilled in me is the football. I love soccer because of him. He took me to matches. He made me Orlando Pirates fan. He got me into this thing that this is what I love and this is what you also love. And at a young age, I used to love sitting around my father's friends and how they would debate football and all of that. And I think I take that passion from him. He was a former teacher as well. But then he was a Mandrix addict.
If you don't mind me asking, sorry to cut you, but how is your relationship with him at the moment?
I would say there's no relationship at all, bro.
You know, we can relate to in so many ways because I'm in a similar situation with my mother. Obviously, my parents divorced when I was young, very young. And every few months when I would see my mother, she had a new partner. My brother actually said something to me that he actually said to my mother was like, how many grandfathers must my children have? He basically was saying like every few months you have a new partner, and they are, my kids must call them pa or grandpa.
So that unsustainability, bro.
You know what I mean?
That
so
inconsistency as well.
We can relate to in so many ways. Like my mother was a gambler, addict, crazy. She's in debt of so much money now because of that. And for many years, we were always taught that, or we were always lied to and said that it's because of my father that she's in the situation that she is, because he was a gambler. But it's actually vice versa. Me, I don't have a relationship with my mother at all. We don't speak. To be honest with you, I don't even know where she stays. I don't know what her situation is. But my grandmother, my father's mom, was my mother growing up. Because my mother walked out. So my grandmother was my mother She is the one that bathed me, fed me, made sure that I had everything I needed to be somebody in life. And the one thing that she always used to tell us was, especially when I went on this roller coaster of
teenagehood.
Yeah, she always used to say, my son was never like that. My son was a quiet young boy, respectful young boy. I don't know where you guys come from.
Where do you get this from? It's probably from the mother side.
Probably, but it also made me realize that this road that you were going on, it's going nowhere. You need to become somebody better than you were the day before. It's just...
It's also one of the things that actually drove me, because now I'm trying to actually have a relationship with him. There's a daughter now involved. He actually walked me through my manhood journey. I found my elder sister, his first child, at 14 on Facebook. We met at another sister's funeral. The baby, my second sister had a baby that passed on. So we had talked on Facebook, and then I met her, and I was busy telling her that, you know how important it is for us as Xhosa men to have our fathers in our lives, because throughout all these years, my mom had tried to find him and all those things.
Yeah.
But a part of me was like, he's not dead. He's not dead. As long as I kept that in my mind, I didn't say I made an excuse for all the things he did to my mother. But one thing I knew, he had sisters that actually cared for him.
Yeah.
I heard he was a Beghi once, living in town under the bridge. This is after he actually retired as a teacher, took all his money, started spending it with other people in Cape Town. The next thing, people started to see him in town, begging and doing all those kind of things. And then his elder sister actually heard that, came to Cape Town, took him back to Bisho, where he grew up in the Eastern Cape. And she was like, I'll never, ever let my brother perish. I don't care whatever he did.
Yeah.
And I think that is I wouldn't even call it luck, because it's based on how they were raised by their own parents. Because apparently my father is the only biological child of his father. The older ones, it was his mother who actually had other kids. My grandfather married her and made sure that you are my kids now.
Yeah.
He educated them. He asked them, what do y'all want to do? My late grandfather, who's my father's brother, he said he wanted to do taxis. His sister, the one who took him, said she wanted to go to school so she can be a teacher. Like all these kids, my grandfather made sure that they actually were set.
Yeah.
You see, I think a few years before I was born, or after I was born, my grandmother, my father's mother, actually passed on. But as I start to sit with his other siblings, they tell me he was spoiled. They bought him cars, he crashed the cars, and all those kind of things. And I felt that he deprived us of that. In my mind, as I was growing up, I was like, how do you actually decide to leave your wife? Because out of all these people that you had kids with, he married my mother.
Yeah.
So the first 3 kids, it's me, it's my sister Nuntando and Sanele. We are marriage kids. So in our family, his family, they know that these are your kids. But they excuse that to say, okay, we are going to be taking you in, because they can't let their own actually perish.
Yeah.
So we have this journey. I get older and I'm like to my sister, if you could just do one thing for me. I started working in the call center that time at Data Factory. I was like, I'm going to set money aside. Can we try to find this guy? So our mother starts doing research. They start to try find him. They find his brother who's in Alice. We ask the brother, find us an address. We sacrifice in December. This is probably a month after I got the job. This was like a turn of events, because it started with me saying, okay, Tando, you're in that position now. I want to be a man. I want to walk that journey. But I know my father has to do that. But throughout those 2 years, we were doing the research. We find the address in December. My sister sacrifices a festive season. My sister and her husband rent a car. Boop, Eastern Cape. We get there. We find him. We tell him just one thing. We did not come here for answers. We only came here so that you can walk me through the journey of manhood.
Yeah.
Come end of the year, we want you in Cape Town. So I'm prepared, and I want you to walk through that journey. He was amazed. All this time in my head, I'm like, answers. But the main thing was, that doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
You get the answers and then what?
You know what? It takes so much for somebody to actually do that. To go out of their way to look past all the negative of somebody and just see the person for who they are. And that's something I try to do a lot. Like you said, I don't see color. I look past that. Because if you cut me open and I cut, we both bleed the same color.
Yeah, we both bleed, man.
So I try to do that as well. Look past the negative of people and just try to see the good in them. And kudos to you, man, for doing that.
Yeah, man. I'm still trying to walk that journey as well. You see, me getting this job, it's like a reignitement again. Because I told my sister, my eldest sister again. And she's like, my brother, I love you. Don't forget God.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, cry to Him. Because I hear about your situation. There are times where my sisters actually go through like hard times. But she lives like in the west side of Cooks, like near where Akona lives. They can actually take a trip down there and be with her. And she was like, we don't get to see each other often, but don't forget that you are my brother. I'm also fighting a battle as well. You don't think things are nice for me and all of that. No, we are all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat, and we're just trying to make a life out of what is been actually given to us. So now I sit with my girl and I tell her, you know, I want my daughter to actually have a relationship with her father.
Yeah.
It starts with me.
It does start with you.
It starts with me. So if I can settle my differences at first so that I can walk the journey, it means now there's someone else in the picture, because this child is going to get older and she's going to start to question.
Yeah.
She's going to start to question. So I'm swallowing my pride, because I already know the moment I reach out to him, because when he left, he was telling me a lot of things about you think you're the man, you think you're this, you think you're this. And I'm like, I was sitting there taking it all. But at the end of the day, I've seen how I'm being the bigger man by actually standing for what's right.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't please him, because he didn't like how I protected my sisters. Because he kept on telling me, look at your sisters, they're disrespectful, they don't want to be told and so on. And my father is a bully, bruh.
Yeah.
He's been like that from a young age. He's been like that. And it's like, I saw he didn't change. But that's not on me to change him. It's on him.
Yeah. What do you feel is like the turning point where you're like, you know, I've done all that I can to build something with you, but it's still not working? Where do you feel is like the turning point? Because I know, like with my mother, we haven't spoken, or we weren't speaking for a long time. And then I thought, my girlfriend told me, she's like, Ross, let's just reach out. And then I reached out, built some type of relationship during this year, actually, the beginning of the year. And then she did something that was like, you know what, I've done everything that I can now, but nothing is working. What I'm trying to get to is like, what is your turning point where you can be like, you know what, I've done everything that I can.
Yes.
I've reached out, I've tried to be the bigger person, but you're just not listening. You're not wanting to be there. You're not wanting to build that relationship.
I think part of what you're actually asking, I have been told by my elder sister. When his older brother actually passed on, I was also called to come to the house.
Yeah.
Because his wives were actually fighting over our family home, the house that his father left for him. So rightfully in our culture, that house belongs to us, his kids. Even his elder sister was like that, because there was a dispute and so on. But a part of what actually brought me back to earth was, my sister said, Thando, you've already built a life for yourself. The love that you want from this man is a love that you will never have. He will never be this father that you want.
Yeah.
Because your mother was a hard worker. She made sure that you guys are in a place. And the fact that he didn't appreciate her doesn't mean that you shouldn't try anything. Don't build a relationship with this guy. Instead, accept him for what he is and work with what he's giving you.
Yeah.
This him being that father who's going to guide you and do all of that, take that out of your mind. This guy doesn't love us. Already he's shown us with the actions, because my father tried to actually comment about my sister's marriage.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, you are the last biscuit to crack. You were actually the last biscuit to crack. You took my mother from PE, brought her to Cape Town and left her.
Yeah.
Teenager. She doesn't know Cape Town at that time. You took her there, took advantage of her, pregnant. My mother basically raised me on my own. And now I'm this married woman with a daughter and a husband that loves me and a home. And all of a sudden you want to have an opinion.
But it's what you make of it. It's what she made of it. And I think that's the most important thing.
Exactly. That's why I see where that advice was actually coming from. To say, you are already doing a lot.
Doing amazing things.
Yes.
This podcast, for example.
Exactly. Those are the things that when I look back and I'm like, I had to push myself to actually be in this position.
Yeah.
I could have just sat and become a victim of my situation and sat there with years and years. They say the price of regret weighs more than the price of you trying again, all over again. Because to me, one of the most important thing is seeing myself not as a failure, seeing myself as I did everything that I could.
Yeah.
My daughter deserves to know a grandfather. He's alive. The entire family is alive. It's not about him owing me something. But I know at the bottom of his heart, he still has us at the back of his mind that those are my kids.
Yeah.
Those are my kids. So at this point, I don't want to lie, Ross. It's not about him. It's about my daughter. Knowing where she comes from. It's about me also picking up where he didn't even bother to let me know that, you come from a family of such. Because I'm more interested in my lineage of family. What did my grandfathers do?
Is that like a cultural?
It's a cultural thing. It's so important. Knowing yourself is so important. It doesn't matter whether the parents weren't there or not. Because at the end of the day, it also lies on you. Did you go out there and seek? The fact that he's alive.
I remember you speaking about a lot of this generation doesn't even know 3 generations back.
Especially in the South. Once you go up north, they can tell you 12, 20 generations down the line. My great-grandfather was who and who and who and who and who. The importance of that.
Yeah.
You just can't give me a semi-version. You need to give me the entire version. If you're not, he had a lot of siblings. His siblings have houses now, they have kids and all of that. At least I need to be the bigger person to say, okay, we are the new generation now. So I'm going to go to the river and sip from that cup.
Yeah.
Because there are libraries within our family. I also need to know how to do things in our family.
Yeah.
So that I can pass on. These kids actually need to have direction as well.
I think where the culture is different is from what I'm taking in now. It's like you guys are passing on from generation to generation. With my family, I don't want to say with my race. With my family, it's almost like this is what I've done. You go do something different. This is the job I had. You can follow in my footsteps if you want to, but the world is yours. Do whatever the hell you want to do. So I see that's the difference in cultures and stuff like that. But it's actually interesting to.
It's very, bruh. And to actually think at one point I didn't care about this. But then someone told me, you are born Xhosa, so you have to.
Yeah.
Because it's an embarrassment for you to be a man who's walked through that journey and not know who you are, where your ancestors lie, and all of those things. Why certain ceremonies are done. Because there's a reason why we have clan names. That's someone's name. This is before the 1800s. I also found out on a podcast that this thing of surname started in the 1800s. So that the British can be able to track us.
Yeah.
Shaka was not Shaka Zulu. He was Shaka of his father, Senzukona. You see? So you were named, you are Ross of your father.
Yeah.
Like I'm Tando of Pilani. There was no Konyana that time.
Yeah.
So the lineage, but not forgetting where we actually come from, because in this world we've become too westernized.
Like, I'm gonna take you up on that offer actually. Like, getting to know where you come from. I fall in that category. I don't know where I come from. We were all taught in school that the Dutch came in the 1800s, and the Dutch and Xhosa, they just mixed, and colored was made. For years, that is all I believed. But then you learn that my great-grandfather, my father's father's father was actually Indian. And it's like, so where does my surname come from? Because Dowman is not necessarily an Indian surname. So I need to do some research on that.
Could be a breakaway.
It could be, you know.
Because remember that time, they were actually, they were shamed. Maybe something happened with the entire family, but like, we need to actually hide the shame.
Could be. What I've learned though over the years is that my surname is actually very small. Like, you'll get your in the colored communities now, you get like a Peterson, but then you'll find out that in a room of 20 there's at least 4 or 5 people with that same surname. With mine, it was very small. It was very seldom that you would get
a Dowman.
So I believe somewhere I need to do some research on
Away, my man. Away, bro. At least we have 40 minutes of this, and yeah, we can continue another time with this. But like, I think we actually have an obligation, because I'm thinking about your future kids.
Yeah.
Now as well.
Yeah.
They can't be inheriting pain that they don't understand.
Yeah.
Because it was the same thing with me, because if I don't go, then actually go and dig. Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? Because, my father, when I went through the journey, the derogatory things he was saying to me, look at you don't even know how to do this and all of that.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, you didn't teach me that. But there were men who were there to actually want to teach me, because they knew how smart I was. But you just can't lead with that, especially like in our culture, because the more years you are as a man, the more your opinion is valued. It's not about education with us. You can be the most educated and so on. That's Western stuff, bruh.
Yeah.
Because now what I've seen is, within our families, especially the black communities, the one who has the money is the one who has the last word. You can be the youngest. You make hella racks, bro. No meeting starts without Ross being there, because he's the money man. He's the one making sure our bills are paid.
Yeah.
And yet there's someone who's lived generations and generations.
Seen everything. But just because they don't have money, which is that thing that I don't want to actually infect our family, for us to lose who we are and actually adopt the Western culture. Because they are winning at the end of the day. I talked about this with a videographer. We're going to talk about this as well. He sent me a screenshot about this comment section war he had with this American girl, about how women only want you when you complete, when you have certain things and so on. And he's like, as a man, as much as I might not be with a woman, I don't want to be with a woman who's the entire street been with. I don't want her to be actually smashed by a whole lot of guys, and just because you're beautiful, that guarantees you, you're going to make a good wife. No. I also need to be a man and say, I don't want you. Yeah.
Because I know what you've been through. So in an essence, he doesn't want to inherit a girl who has unresolved issues. You don't want to be with a person who thinks her beauty is going to do everything for her.
Yeah.
I've seen that with my aunt. My aunt is like, just because I open my legs for you, it means you must give me money. Like, besides that, what else do you bring to the table? You didn't finish school. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. So you are in a position not to choose. You're actually in that position. So I'm a man who actually thrives on being with a woman who brings me value.
Yeah.
She just can't be physically beautiful. You need to be smart as well.
I think we touched on this. Like, in colored communities, you see a lot of men working. You don't see a lot of women working, because we've been taught that the woman is the one that is cleaning and looking after the kids, and the man is out providing. But what the white people were doing for a very long time, and we laughed at them when they said, oh, we don't know how to do dishes. Oh, we don't know how to clean clothes. Why? We asked why. We laughed, but why? Oh, we had a domestic worker. But why? Because the woman was out working, men were out working. So there was income from both sides. And a lot of problems come from when there's only income from the one side. Men become depressed because they're working for this family. I'm doing it all by myself. And it's important. The one thing that you said now is like beauty is not going to get you anything. You need to get out of that mindset of just because you're beautiful doesn't mean you're going to get everything.
This beauty privilege.
Yeah.
Pretty privilege.
Pretty privilege.
And men need to find their ideal.
I think also on our side, we also need to have a stand in terms of this is what I will not allow. Because I feel like we are also giving into the social construct.
Because you're beautiful, I want you. And then you find out later in life that you come with a lot of problems. Because you don't have the same mindset that I have.
And it must be okay for a man to want to be with an ambitious woman as well.
And vice versa.
Yeah, vice versa.
It doesn't go one way.
We're not making it like as if all men are supposed to want these kind of women. But like to my account, my woman stayed with me when I was at my worst. But I also had to play the part in raising our child.
Yeah.
I was like, she's out there getting the bread, so I need to learn how to change nappies. I need to learn. And 2 years later, I see the connection that I have with my daughter. My daughter might not see me for months, but she would act out the things that we would do together when she's with her mother. Then I started having a relationship with the grandfather, which is my girlfriend's mother, and the grandfather, which is her father. And the father is like, this child is so obsessed with the father. So obsessed with the father. Because I was like, bruh, I don't know this, but I need to do it for this child.
Yeah.
I need to do it for this child. And I think that's how I show my woman I actually love her. Not by buying her stuff. When I do have the possibility and the ability, I can do that. Because at the end of the day, bro, whatever situation you are in, you need to make the best out of it.
Yeah.
People were shitting on me, bruh. You changing nappies. You a sissy. You are this. I'm like, okay, watch me. Now they say, yo, bruh, you know the relationship you have with your kid. I wish I could have this relationship with my child. Bruh, you don't want to make the nest.
You're the one that needs to put in the effort. It's not just when it comes to work and when it comes to things that you want. It's basically you need to live your life like everything. What's the words I'm trying to look for? It's like with whatever you do, you need to try and be number one. So hard work, great mindset, mentality, dedication. Even if it's for your child, like you need to show them that you're the number one guy in the world, man in the world.
And that's my role, just to end this off, bro. The first man my daughter is supposed to fall in love with is her dad.
Yeah.
I need to prepare her for the guy that she's gonna marry. She's 2 now. She's gonna start school next year in January. And I'm like, I'm gonna be there every step of the way.
They always say, the daughters always go for a guy that is similar.
Yeah, resembles a father.
Yeah.
The same way that we men like to go for a guy that actually reminds us of our mother.
So if you're going to be a bad father, your daughter's probably going to go for a bad guy. So it's important for you to want to show what is right and wrong. Like the one thing I always used to tell my sister was like, never let a man ever call you a bitch. Never. Because then there's no respect. You see how your father treats you. Try to find somebody
Treats you like your dad.
that treats you like your dad. Because you are a princess. Find your prince that is going to make
You are
you.
royalty, man. And relationships are supposed to be a place of comfort. I'm actually in awe of the relationship that you are in, bruh. You taking these big steps at such a young age. Because I think this generation, there is so much that the older generation is focused on what's going wrong. While there's also this other side of us who be like, okay, I'm in this position, but since I have this person, I'm just going to make the best out of this, bro.
Do you ever get that feeling when you're talking to somebody inside here? I don't know if you get that feeling like this conversation is like, besides it being interesting, you know it's going to help you somehow. Like, I don't know, I only get that feeling with certain people when I talk to them. I get that with you.
Amen.
Much respect.
Thank you, man. You know, I see every podcast episode as a therapy session. Like therapy. But thank you, man. We're going to do more often of this,
Yeah.
bruh, because I love your energy. I love your mindset, bro. And I just wish prosperity over everything that you're going to do now and in the future, bruh.
Likewise, my brother.
Thank you very much, man. We close this one out, guys, with a very beautiful outcome. Let the journey continue, man. Let the journey continue. There's still more beautiful people that we're going to have conversations with. And I think I'm in a position to actually empower those who I meet. Because your aura, man, that's the most important thing. You do not know how you are affecting someone by being you. Joshua Maponga likes to say, when you try to be someone else, you are depriving me of the opportunity to know the real you. Like I said, this group is amazing, bruh. There's just something about this. And my sister always told me that maybe you need to be around other people so that you can remember that you're not alone. We're actually not alone. Just when you think you're alone, you're not. But as the motivational maniac, I am signing out. Thank you to Ross. And for many more of such conversations, man, because the feeling is mutual, bruh. The feeling is mutual, man.